Hello, welcome to Tea with the Druid 153. This is Flip Cargom, and it's lovely to see you here. And yes, greetings from New Mexico, London, Portland, Oregon, Netherlands, North Germany, Skegness, and Canterbury and Broadstairs. How fantastic! Everybody's piling in. Lovely to see you. So Tea with the Druid is brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, and welcome if you're watching it live right now, or welcome if you're watching a recording. So let me do this shout out before I begin, so I don't forget it, because I really want to mention this. Every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock, my successor as leader of the Order, Emma Berg, has got an incredible live show on Facebook and YouTube called Farsight Chats with Emma. And she interviews members of the Order from all over the world. And these conversations go on for a long time, an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4, but they are absolutely fantastic. We're on episode 9 and episode 10 this coming Thursday. And every single episode I have just found fascinating. And what she's doing is she's interviewing just members of the Order. And what this reveals is how incredible each person is, how utterly unique, how there are strands of commonality that you recognize. You say, oh, yes, I feel that way. I've done that. I think like that. But then there are utterly unique events that have occurred in people's lives, ideas, emotions. It's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I really, really recommend you watching it. And if you think that that's too long a period to watch something, you don't need to watch. Just kick it off so you can get a feel for the two people who are in front of you on the screen, and then do the ironing or the washing up or whatever you want to do. It's just really, really fascinating. I'm looking forward to every Thursday evening from now on. And if you can't make it at 8 o'clock, they are, of course, on YouTube and Facebook as well. You'll find them there. Nancy West says the Farsight Chats are fabulous. Yes, we've heard from a GP in Glasgow, and Ellie last week, who managed to arrange a charity that bought a mountain in Nepal. All sorts of incredible stories. So do watch it. So, okay, for this evening, there's a really, really useful maxim in psychotherapy, and I think really in life in general, which is start from where you are. And it's so helpful. And today I've been feeling really fragile. You know, that sort of, it's partly related to the season. Maybe I've got some kind of bug. I hope not the bug, but, you know, I feel as if somebody's tipped a pint of water in one ear and it won't go away, and you know, strange kind of symptoms, and super tired and fatigued, and fragile and vulnerable. And so I'm starting at this place, and what I wanted to say is what I think is so interesting about the spiritual life and the spiritual quest is that it keys into a part of us that wants to achieve success, the heroic part of us. There's a heroic agenda in the spiritual quest, which if we exaggerate it or caricature it, or you would say is the sort of the quest to be Superman or Superwoman. In the occultism of the late 19th, early 20th century, the figure of the adept was one that was terribly popular. And so I remember when I was 18 reading Zanoni by Bulwer Lytton, you know, which featured one of these wonderful adepts who is, you know, telepathic and can astral travel, and, you know, is 300 years old and looks 15, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And there is a way in which, in undertaking the spiritual journey, we are undertaking a heroic quest, because it's a quest to be our best selves. So there's a sense of striving towards something, of wanting to achieve something. And when I was young, when I was 11, I read The Life of the Buddha, and I thought there's no better goal than gaining enlightenment. What a wonderful quest that was and is. And again, there's this image of the Superman, but different, a meditating Superman under a tree, which is better than a man in funny blue underpants with an S on them. But nevertheless, there is a heroic component, which is absolutely fine. But as with everything, I think we always have to include its opposite. If we only stress the heroic part of this quest to be the best possible person you can be, with the most powerful mind and the biggest heart and the most experience in altered states of consciousness and so on, we're going to miss something. So honoring fragility and really allowing ourselves to not try to get away from those feelings of weakness, fragility, limitation, feels to me really important. So I wanted to dedicate our evening in praise of fragility, in honoring of fragility. And Ellie saying, there are so many unwell people at the moment. I wonder if the current situation is a contributing factor to something that is reducing our immunity to other illnesses. Well, it's interesting, isn't it, Ellie? Because on the one hand, by wearing masks and not engaging with people so much, social distancing and so on, in some ways, I've felt like I actually haven't been ill all year since the lockdown, because I haven't gone anywhere near anybody who's got any kind of symptoms. So, but there's lots of illness about, and of course we're coming into the winter in the northern hemisphere, so that could well be something that's happening perhaps. But of course it's great news about the vaccine. I think this, the third vaccine is going to become available, and it really seems that we might emerge out of all this. And what I wanted to what this makes me think about is a chap called John Youngblood, who is a Quaker writer who has or had, I don't know if he's still alive, I hope he is, Parkinson's disease. And he developed this different way about thinking about his progressively diminishing capacities. Instead of grieving over the loss, he decided to come up with this idea of hallowing it, hallowing his diminishments, as he calls it, making them holy in some way. And I wrote about this, I don't know, a number of years ago on a blog post, and I was looking at it today, and I realized it's so pertinent to the time we're in now with the lockdown, with the pandemic. And I thought I'd just read it to you. It's very short. But a lady called Sharon Astick took Youngblood's idea and applied it to the environmental crisis. She applied it to the coming diminishments she expects we will all experience as climate change starts to bite. She calls this hallowing the descent, as opposed to Youngblood's idea of hallowing diminishment. And she explains how Youngblood suggested we adopt a friendly rather than an adversarial stance towards our sufferings or privations, which, since they won't go away, will help us live with them more effectively. That makes us think of the power of acceptance. In a lot of psychotherapy really works with that, in certain psychotherapies in particular. What you resist persists, as Jung said, and when you accept things, you can you deal with them better. He points out how each diminishment, and you discover these gifts, as Astick explains. The physical limitations that come with aging also bring with them, quotes, the reconversion from earning a living to cultural activity. That is, there is time to talk to others, to think, to devote to the outside world as we retire and age. We could add devote to the inner world too. Jungblut then talks about the ultimate diminishment, death, and how accepting its inevitability is the most effective strategy. I'd like to suggest another phrase which helps me apply this idea to my own life: hallowing limitation. Born in the post-war years and growing up in a liberal society, I have spent most of my time immersed in a culture that has constantly pushed against limitations and restrictions. Go for gold, the sky's the limit. This has been the message not only of consumer marketeers, but sadly of motivational psychology and much of New Age popular spiritual psychology. But now we need to accept that we may be entering an era in which we will need to limit our ambitions and desires. And in fact, with the pandemic, of course, we have entered a period where we've had to do exactly that. The mind is a wonderful tool, and with the power of a good idea, we can change the way we experience our lives. If rather than feeling punished by them, we are able to hallow the limitations we might start to experience, they can become our allies rather than our enemies. This, of course, is the way to happiness taught by most spiritual traditions since time immemorial. That of limiting our desires and expectations so we can open to the blissful awareness that exists beyond the desire body. Again, this invitation that the lockdown has brought since March, or the changed circumstances in March, is this, are you going to fight these limitations and just make yourself frustrated and angry and depressed, miserable, or are you going to somehow hallow the limitations and reframe them and use them for your own, to find happiness and to develop yourself? And then I say in the blog, if this is too esoteric for you, here's a down-to-earth image that illustrates the gifts that limitation might harbor. Imagine losing access to the television. What joy. Hallowing the descent, hallowing diminishments, hallowing limitations. It all boils down to opening ourselves to the gifts that less has to offer, the gifts that silence can bring, that being rather than having or doing can bring. So I thought as a meditation for going with this idea is, let's have our usual meditation in the sacred grove, and let's meditate on something beautifully fragile, strong in its own way. I mean, I'm going to suggest a butterfly or a spider's web, which is fragile in the sense that, you or I can smack a spider's web out of the way, but it's incredibly strong in its own terms. So let's have a little brief meditation and see how that goes. If you'd like to perhaps close your eyes to better concentrate and become aware of being seated here in front of your computer or screen. Take in a slow, deep breath, hold, and then let out slowly. And gradually you allow your awareness of being in front of your screen to change to walking through a forest and coming into a sacred clearing, a sacred grove in the forest. The weather is just right for you. The time of day is just as it should be for you. Perhaps just at twilight, perhaps at dawn. So there's enough light to see. Or in the moonlight, perhaps. And you come into the clearing and just find a comfortable spot and seat yourself in front of a tree and just open to being present in this place. It's not necessary to see clearly at all when you have these experiences. It's more about feeling, more about being here in this sacred place and sensing the earth beneath you. And you sense the life of the earth. You sense the energy of the earth, bringing a sense of calm and peace. And as you breathe in, you can smell the soil, the leaves that are decaying on the ground. You can sense the stability that the earth brings to you. You sense all the life in the earth too. The creatures, the moisture, the rocks and minerals and soil. And you notice how healing it is simply to be here, close to the earth. And you sense the trees around you, and you sense them rooted deeply in the earth beneath you. Their trunks soaring up, bringing a sense of protection and power and peace. There's a presence in this forest, in these trees, a beautiful presence coming from these spirits of the trees, their being. And you breathe in the perfume of these trees, the air that they're exuding, the energy that they're giving you. And you look up at the sky and you breathe in the energy of the sky. And this invigorating energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And now, gradually in your imagination, allow your eyes to open as you just notice that the most beautiful butterfly has just come to land on the ground in front of you. And let's spend a few moments in silence, just honoring the beauty, the fragility, the exquisite fragility and beauty of this butterfly. And tune into the consciousness of this little being. And just imagine that your consciousness and the consciousness of this butterfly are completely attuned, so you can really sense this little being and its consciousness within your own consciousness, and that they can commune together. And then the butterfly just flies away out of sight. And then you look to one side and you see the most beautiful cobweb just hanging from a branch with drops of dew on the cobweb. And you just honor the fragility, the strength, the perfection in this cobweb. And then move your attention back into your own self, your body, and just imagine that you're putting your palms on the ground in front of you, and you feel your palms touching the damp earth, and it feels so good to touch the damp earth. And you feel the energy of the earth flowing up through your palms, up your arms, right into the heart. And then you bring your palms up and touch your heart with both your palms, feeling the warmth in your heart. And gradually knowing that you can return to this place of tranquility and beauty whenever you wish. Gradually you allow your awareness of this scene to fade from your consciousness as you become aware of being seated here in front of the screen, fully present, here and now. So it's lovely to read your comments. I'm reading your comments while as everybody returns from their meditations. I was just taking that time to read your comments. Luna Series is looking forward to partying in Bacchusville in the Shire for as long as is needed when she passes to the other side. Her crone self looking forward to her death. Bacchusville in the Shire, how wonderful. Yes, good. Well, oh, that's nice. Heliet. This reminds me of the martial arts master who I can tick. I always forget this. I can tick comments so you can read them, and then I untick them and they disappear. That's great. Yes. Leslie LeBlanc, the butterfly. Oh, I got the wrong comment. The butterfly landed on my face, says Leslie. Yes. Good. Well, look, have a really lovely week. Do you know that you can write comments even after the broadcast is finishing. Vivian saw an ice butterfly. Right. Yes. So you can write comments afterwards, and I'll do my usual thing of going and making real tea and coming back and reading your comments. So have a lovely week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Okay. Many blessings. Much love, and see you next week. Bye.